Your heart pounds in the quiet room, though no one else has spoken. You remember the moment you handed them your trust wide open, unguarded only to watch it crumble beneath their indifferent footsteps. That was the night power slipped through your fingers like sand. You felt the betrayal in the bones of your hands, the hollow echo of your own voice when you begged for respect. Silence followed. You stopped asking for answers. You stopped chasing explanations. You felt cold flourish where desperation once lived. Exposed, you discovered the mirror you'd avoided, your own neediness. You've heard the mantra of positivity, the platitudes of healing: embrace vulnerability, let go with love. But vulnerability is a chink in your armor. Love without boundaries is a weapon pointed at your own temple. You learned that the day you opened up and nothing changed. They didn't apologize because they were sorry. They apologized because you didn't react. There's a paradox. Strength lies in absence. Presence is forged not by the volume of your pleas, but by the silence that follows your refusal to plead. That's the transformation you've long avoided admitting. To become unshakable, you must first vanish from their expectations. Feel the weight of this truth. It's not about what they did. It's about who you become when you refuse to be displaced. You don't need their approval. You need your resolve. You don't seek validation. You demand respect through the quiet assertion of your worth. Can you sense the shift beneath your ribs? The brittle shell of your old self cracking, giving way to something unmoved by whispers or wounds. If you recognize the silent fracture in your own code, you know why you can't turn back. This is the point of rupture, and it's where real power begins, where you stop reacting and start commanding. If you're ready to stop being the silent victim in your own story, subscribe and stand by in the quiet. They watched you bend like a reed in their storm, gripping at the edges of their approval until your fingers bled. They whispered praise when it weighed nothing, then recoiled when you stood upright. In that recoil, you felt a surge not of shame, but of clarity. You saw how easily they controlled you with small kindnesses, how they measured your loyalty like a ledger, adding favors to debit your dignity. When you stopped defending yourself, they started doubting themselves. Suddenly, their calm faltered. Chairs scraped floors. Conversations stuttered into silences. They searched for the familiar tremor in your voice and found none. That tremor had been your invitation to domination, their invitation. Without it, they drifted in confusion, mistaking your stillness for indifference, and panic bloomed behind their eyes. You remember the sting of honest eyes trained on you, waiting for the familiar pleas. You remember feeling naked and powerless until you realized nakedness can be a weapon when wielded with indifference. Their discomfort reflected back at you, the question simmering on their lips: "Who are you now?" You answered without speaking. You simply were. Every slight they ever granted, every crumb of acknowledgement they tossed your way, became evidence of their need for you to be smaller. You swallowed that evidence like poison until the poison became power. You understood then that respect is never given. It is demanded through absence and the unshakable conviction of self-worth. Watch their faces when you stop explaining. Their eyebrows arch, and the scripts they wrote for you fall into ash. They scramble for your attention, their lines unraveling, because they cannot stand uncertainty. You have become their disturbance, and in being their disturbance, you reclaim authority over your own story. There is a silent warfare in every interaction. They launch barbs disguised as questions. Why are you always so cold? Hoping you'll flinch. But flinch, and they win. Remain still, and they collapse under the weight of their own expectations. They called you cold because they couldn't control you anymore. Your calm is their enemy because it cannot be bought or bullied. Feel the gravity of your own presence. It is not loud. It is inevitable. Like the still point of a storm, it draws energy toward it, twisting chaos into order. You are the eye, and everything that moves around you is caught in your orbit, subject to the discipline of your will. They will learn to respect the boundary of your silence more than the echo of any apology. They will test you, always. Old scars ache in the memory of their predictable cruelty. They return with new masks: kindness, indifference, outrage, hoping to catch you off guard. But you have dissected every tactic. You have catalogued each manipulation in the steel chambers of your mind. You anticipate their moves because you have rehearsed your own stillness against them. When they apologize, they offer no remorse, only leverage. They want to see if you will break. Don't. Their regret is a currency you no longer accept. Let it melt on your lips like ash. In refusing to taste it, you condemn them to confront the emptiness of their own motives. Now, in every room you enter, you cast a recalibration. Your posture, your silence, the slight tilt of your head all communicate a single, unspoken command. Show me respect or step aside. Some will try. They will fumble through reconciliations and convoluted explanations. They will miss the point. You require nothing from them but acknowledgement of your unassailable domain. This is not arrogance. It is self-possession. It is the cold comprehension that every human interaction is a bid for power. You stop bidding. You win by not playing. Their desperation becomes your confirmation. They lean in, eyes flicking, searching for cracks in your armor, and they find none. Let this marinate beneath your skin until their attempts at control strike only dead air, until their words echo back at them, empty, until their need to bend you to their will becomes a silent agony you observe without reaction. Then you will know the transformation is complete, when they fear your silence more than your anger. This is your crucible. In the fire of their demands and deceptions, you stand unyielding. You have shed the weight of their opinions as an old skin. You move forward in the stillness of absolute conviction. They bait you with empathy, false compassion, draped over their intent to probe your defenses. I understand, they whisper, as if alignment with your pain will grant them purchase. But alignment is a ruse. Their empathy is a mirror reflecting their own insecurities. When you lean in, they strike. You sense the blade in their soft tone, the ledger balancing each shed tear with unspoken terms. Your response is not to match their feigned sorrow, but to observe. You track the shift in their pupils when you remain unresponsive, the tremor in their voice when there is no reaction to dissect. Your silence becomes an X-ray, revealing the fractures in their manufactured concern. They shrink under that scrutiny. They resent you for holding the light steady while they squirm. In that moment, you abandon pity for yourself and for them. Pity is a leash, binding you to expectations. You release it. You become the surgeon of your own boundaries, cutting away the tissue of codependency. You feel the shock of detachment, how it courses through your veins colder than grief, cleaner than rage. This is not cruelty. This is preservation. They will accuse you of indifference, label you stone-hearted. Let them. Indifference is your shield. It is the absence of emotion that infects them most. They chase your concern like addicts hunting the next hit, and you will not give it. You will not collapse into their orbit. You stand apart, a lone sentinel guarding the gates of your resolve. Recall the moment you first realized your value was tied to their whims. You replay it like a broken record. The texts left unread, the invitations withdrawn, the excuses thin as ice. Each denial was a verdict on your worth. Yet here you stand, unjudged by their decrees. You have rewritten the code. Your worth is intrinsic, unassailable by their refusal. Feel the shift in your own center like gravity recalibrating. You no longer orbit their energy. You generate your own pull. They circle you, magnets seeking polarity, drawn to your absence of dependency. They whisper, "We miss you." They beg you to return to the old pattern, to resume your place in the hierarchy. But you cannot return. The path behind you sealed by the weight of your own awakening. Every confrontation becomes a test of their projection. They fling accusations. You're too distant. You never cared, projecting their own fear of abandonment onto you. But you see through the projection. It is the echo of their own guilt. You refuse to catch their blame. You let it ricochet back, muffled against the walls of your detachment. They will escalate. Small provocations will swell into demands. They will unleash ultimatums when their subtle tactics fail. Watch them when desperation cracks their composure. They raise their voices, paint you as the villain of the narrative. Their anger is the final confession. They cannot control you. Their fury bursts because they know your silence cannot be argued with. Your stillness cannot be bargained for. Here, you press your advantage. You don't provoke. You don't explain. You simply exist beyond their reach. In every interaction, you calibrate your engagement like a sniper adjusting for wind. Minimal exposure. Maximal impact. Your words, when they come, strike with precision, concise, unembellished, sufficient unto themselves. You learn the art of conditional presence. You show up on your terms and withdraw before their gravity can ensnare you. You create pauses between moments of engagement until their need for closure becomes a confession. They chase you through the gaps, but you widen them. Their need to fill the void illuminates their dependency, and you watch, undistracted. Over time, the pattern cements. They learn the cost of testing your boundaries. Their attempts to push you yield only emptiness. They begin to recalibrate their own behavior, not through your instruction, but through consequence. Their respect grows not from your forgiveness, but from their fear of your permanent departure into silence. You become the anomaly they cannot predict. You command not through volume, but through restraint. You wield absence as a weapon sharper than any outburst. They ache for your reaction, but you are gone, withdrawn into the calm fortress of your self-possession. And in that fortress, you are unassailable. The final key turns when you realize that your power comes not from their transformation, but from your own. You do not change them. You change yourself. You cultivate a presence so still, so self-contained, that no external force can perturb it. In that stillness, you are infinite. Silence is your ally as they escalate to spectacle. They summon witnesses, friends, colleagues paraded as jury to judge your distance. Why won't you open up? They demand. Voices layered with righteous indignation. In their chorus, you hear the fragility of consensus. You see how mob pressure shapes truth. Their argument collapses under inspection because unity built on coercion is paper-thin. You don't flinch. You allow their performance to exhaust itself. Their last crescendo drowns in emptiness, ricocheting back as a confession of their impotence. You remain seated in the auditorium of your conviction, unshaken by the thunderclap of their collective outrage. Your calmness becomes a vacuum, pulling at their resolve until it unravels. They recognize the futility of spectacle. They revert to solitude and skepticism, probing one-on-one. We need to talk becomes their plea. But you've learned, transparency is a hunger they never satiate. You reciprocate with an even distribution of measured words and measured silences. You leak nothing. Each syllable is vetted by the fortress of your intent. In that selective exchange, you define the terms of engagement. You reclaim language from their misuse. They weaponized words cold, uncaring, aloof to erode your boundaries. Now you repurpose those words as badges of sovereignty. Yes, I am cold, you concede, allowing the label to lose its sting. I am aloof, you affirm, illustrating that distance is your domain. They flinch at the mirror they once held to you. Notice how the narrative shifts. They can no longer project. They retreat into analysis of their own behavior. Their discomfort becomes an inward spiral. They confront their reflection, facing the truth that they sought to hide behind your compliance. Your stillness forced them to look inward. In their self-scrutiny, they find confusion, guilt, and the faintest spark of respect. You did not teach them. You exposed them. You did not guide. You revealed. Your strategy was surgical. Remove your dependency. Observe the erosion of their control, and then press the advantage through disciplined presence. They learned nothing you said. They felt everything you withheld. That is the apex of influence, when your non-reaction speaks louder than any plea. Feel the resonance in your chest. That quiet vibration is the echo of your own emergence. It reaches into the spaces you once emptied with fears of abandonment and fills them with the gravity of your self-possession. No compliment can deepen it. No apology can hollow it. It stands beyond the oscillations of external opinion. Your transformation isn't a story you tell them. It is a riddle they must solve themselves if they are brave enough to follow your trace. They search for the source of your stillness, and in doing so, they discover the limitation of their power. Your stillness is the axis upon which their world turns uncertain. This is the landscape of your new reality. You navigate it without the ballast of their expectations. With each step away from their gravitational pull, you reinforce the boundary between their chaos and your stillness. You carry your presence like a blade, silent, sharp, and unerring. Hold this truth as you move forward. Influence is not in your concessions, but in your constancy. You are not shaped by their reactions. You are defined by the absence of your own. In that absence, you become more than a participant. You become the catalyst they cannot ignore. They circle back to your triumphs and your failures, mining them for leverage. Remember when they begin, expecting you to bleed anew. But you have harvested that memory into cold validation. You neither deny nor embrace it. You observe how their words tremble, how their confidence fractures when you refuse to supply emotion. Their recollections become weightless without your reaction. Nostalgia loses its anchor and drifts into oblivion. You watch as they conjure specters of your past self, vulnerable, pliant, eager for acceptance, and parade them before your modern visage. They beckon you to comfort that ghost, to soothe the ache they themselves inflicted. But the ghost is dead. You stand as proof of its extinction. Your silence is its tombstone. Their attempts at resurrection crumble into dust. In their frustration, they turn to accusation. You're responsible for what you feel. A subtle trap, as if guilt were transferable. You meet this assault with calibrated calm. You feel the accusations slide off like water from steel. You have dismantled that false premise. Emotions are yours alone, not bargaining chips in their arsenal. Your equilibrium remains intact, untriggered by their shifting blame. They escalate to passive aggression, a text left unread, an invitation unacknowledged, a compliment delivered with derision. Each move designed to bait you into acceptance of their codependency. They hope you'll respond, restore the cycle, resume your role as their emotional barometer. But you treat each sting as a mirror, reflecting their impotence back onto them. No reaction means no reinforcement. Their barbs dull against the stone of your composure. Witness their panic when the cycle breaks. They thrash for control in the empty space you carve with your indifference. They barter fragments of themselves, apologies thin as paper, promises fragile as glass. You receive them without ceremony, catalog them in your unshakable core, then let them drift away. Their offerings become echoes in a cavern too vast for sound to reach the walls. You understand now that emotional chaos is their battlefield, and you have emptied the field. No terrain left to contest. You return to silence, the only domain where your power is absolute. They clamor for responses like moths to a flame, unaware that the flame no longer exists. You exist as the void, the absence that compels attention more fiercely than presence ever could. In that void, you forge a new identity. Not the brittle self who sought approval in every glance, nor the desperate self who sought closure in every argument. You become the arbiter of your own significance. Every glance they cast your way becomes a question they cannot answer. Who are you beyond their narrative? You leave them to confront that question in your silence. Notice their transformation. They hesitate before speaking, measure their words as if addressing a sovereign. They no longer assume your compliance. They fear your indifference. Their tactics become cautious, tentative. Their assault shifts from subtle to blunt open hostility, masked as concern. But you have cleaned your armor against both. Blunt force cannot breach a fortress with no gates. Your restraint becomes their puzzle. They study you like scientists, charting your pauses, timing your breaths, analyzing the trajectory of your gaze. They seek patterns to exploit, but you remain unreadable. Every gesture is deliberate but inscrutable. You own your body as territory they cannot map. Your eyes glide across them without revealing sympathy or scorn. You are the observer and the observed, collapsing the distance between them. In this final body of work, witness how leverage shifts irrevocably. They once held the balance of power in every text and every tone. Now, you hold it in each unspoken word. Power rests not in what you utter, but in what you withhold. They have no choice but to reckon with the void where your emotion used to be. That void is a demand for respect stronger than any plea. They will attempt a final gambit, feigned indifference to your indifference. They will step away, feign acceptance, even warmth, hoping to lure you back into equilibrium. But you see through the ruse. Their indifference is the last mask of dependency. When you mimic their act, you deny their control, you make their strategy fall upon themselves. Their facade unravels in silence. You stand unyielding at the edge of their schemes, a sentinel born from detachment. You have given them nothing to hold, nothing to hope for, and in that deprivation lies your victory. You have banished the narrative that once bound you. In its place arises a presence ungoverned by their will. Hold this moment as the apex of your transformation. You no longer orbit their chaos. You have become the center of your own world. Their attempts to pull you back into the fray only reinforce your detachment. Each failed attempt is not a victory for them, but for you proof that your stillness cannot be commandeered. This is not mastery over others. It is mastery over yourself. Your silence is not emptiness. It is the echo of a new authority, forged in the crucible of their attempts to unmake you. In that authority, you are truly unstoppable. They send fragments of their past into your present, desperate to unearth regret like buried treasure. Do you remember how much you needed me? They coo, brandishing your old dependence as proof of their power. But dependence is obsolete currency. You archive that ledger of longing in the vault of your apathy. You neither deny its existence, nor devote another thought to it. It is a relic, a tombstone for the person you once were. Feel the vibration in the air as they realize their strategy has no purchase. They shift tactics, collapsing the distance they once enforced. Let's just be honest. They insist, stepping into your space with feigned intimacy. Eyes narrowing, they probe for the telltale signs of your old insecurity. A quiver in your jaw, a hesitation in your breath. But your marrow has calcified against doubt. You inhale without contraction, your calm an impenetrable membrane. Their honesty slams into it like hail against a steel door, bouncing away without dent. Their next move is disarmament through revelation. They confess every slight, every moment they cast you aside, parading their guilt in the soft glow of your silence. They claim transformation, hope for reconciliation. They seek the catalyst that will revive your reaction. But you know guilt is their final gambit, delivered in installments to watch you consume it. You accept none. You witness their words coagulate, heavy as blood, and you let them pool on the floor of your impassive mind. When they accuse you of cruelty, you let the word hang between you. Cruelty, by their definition, means withholding your comfort, refusing to soothe their wounds. But soothing is coercion. In refusing, you offer them a mirror. See your own wounds. They must face them alone. You watch their confusion twist into frustration, then acceptance. Their acceptance is hollow, a concession to the permanence of your detachment. They attempt intimacy through shared memories, recounting moments of trust to reignite connection. But memories without emotion are photographs without depth, flat and lifeless. You observe the practice of nostalgia, how it seeks to tether you to bygone selves. You refuse that gravity. You refuse to orbit the past to serve their present need. Your gaze drifts past them, as if scanning a horizon they cannot see, and they falter, unsure how to anchor your attention. In response to their pleas, you offer a single nod or a single word, stripped of inflection. That is all they require to confirm you are still alive, but not to confirm you are still theirs. You give them proof of existence, not possession. And that distinction shatters their strategy. They prosecute you for this distinction, but you do not defend it. You let their arguments collapse under their own weight, like a house built on sand. Observe how they recoil when you reject validation. They circle you, wounded and wary, testing your borders. In their circling, you perceive the architecture of their dependency, the bulwarks of expectation they built around your reactions. You map the blueprint of their manipulation, and you dismantle it by refusing to participate. You become the invisible surgeon, excising their leverage with each unoffered piece of yourself. They may escalate to leveraging mutual bonds, friends, colleagues, shared histories as collateral. They marshal alliances, wielding third parties as messengers for their sorrow. But your fortress is silent. You do not engage through intermediaries. Their pleas reverberate in empty corridors. The more they amplify their network, the more their voices dissolve into white noise. You maintain one channel, your own unwavering silence. Their final attempt is a confrontation, an ultimatum clothed in concern. If you won't open up, then we have nothing. The words linger like a challenge, but you know nothingness is their mistake. In the void of their threat, you find your sovereignty. You stand in the emptiness they fear, and you realize that nothing is not an absence of power. It is the purest form of power. They offer choice. You embody necessity. At that precipice, you witness their transformation more starkly than in any apology or pledge. Their faces contour with the realization that your worth was never contingent on their acceptance. Their fear shifts from losing you to losing themselves in the mirror of your self-possession. They grasp at meaning where there is none to grasp. You remain the silent constant. You've traversed the crucible of their control and emerged as your own arbiter. Every tactic they deploy waves against the unyielding wall of your conviction. Their strategies return to them fractured, like arrows bouncing off steel. You do not retaliate. You simply stand. Your presence is the final frontier they cannot breach. Remember this apex moment. The last echo of their pleas dissolves into a void, and you stand resolute. This is not the end of their attempts, but it is the end of their ability to perturb you. Your stillness has become your dominion, and within it, you are truly unstoppable. You've borne witness to every tactic they wielded, betrayal dressed as concern, guilt masquerading as apology, spectacle posing as sincerity. You've watched each strategy fracture against the precision of your silence. Now, at the edge of this transformation, understand that their power over you was never in their actions but in your reaction. You severed that link. This is the final truth. Control is surrendered when you stop offering leverage. In the void of your indifference, you reclaim authorship of your own narrative. You are neither victim nor victor. In their story, you are the architect of your own existence. Their opinions become distant echoes, incapable of disturbing the still point you inhabit. You stand at the summit of your own making, where no external storm can reach. In this altitude of self-possession, you no longer chase respect, you embody it. You no longer seek validation, you radiate it. You are the calm threshold between chaos and order, and every step you take carves a new path beyond their gravity. Carry this identity into every room, every conversation, every fleeting interaction. Let your silence demand respect before a word is spoken. Let your absence teach them what presence truly costs. You have built a fortress, not of walls, but of stillness. And in that fortress, you are unassailable. If you recognize this power stirring within you, share your silence below and rise with those who refuse to be moved.